Hello, all. This is David Martin, psychotherapist and LMFT with Illuminated Pathways. And I'm here today with another video. And I want to do a video about this because I've been seeing more and more of this occurring in my practice, my psychotherapy practice. Um, Autism in females and the characteristics with autism in females. Um, So the reason why I want to do this is because this looks differently with females than it does in males. For those diagnosed with autism or may have autism traits. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to do the 10 characteristics to look out for. Um, and I want to explain the importance to why we need to understand this, right? Uh, and again, this can just present differently in females than it does for males. So let's jump in with the top 10, okay? The first one being masking and camouflaging. Let me talk about that a little bit. So masking and camouflaging is that what happens is that many females um, that are diagnosed with autism or have autistic traits learn to mimic social behaviors to fit in. Okay. Um, an example of that may be a young girl might study social cues from peers and copy their mannerisms to avoid standing out, right? Um, this is probably one of the main ones I usually see with clients. Um, excuse me, the masking piece of it. Um, Moving on to number two, special interests with the social aspect, right? Um, so we do know that folks diagnosed with autism in general can hyperfixate on a specific topic or interest, right? Hyperfocus on it. But with this is the special interest with the social aspect, right? So autistic females may have deep interests that are more socially typical or socially motivated. So an example of that may be a girl might find intensely interested in um, something like animals, right? And use that interest to form friendships, right? So, for example, um, and this could happen either way, right? So, Susie sees a girl at school that might be a cheerleader, right? And she may have it start an interest in cheerleading because she wants to get connected to her friend that's a cheerleader, right? Just because of that, right? But again, the main piece of that is the social aspect, and the interest is socially motivated. Um, Moving on to number three, sensory sensitivities. Now, again, sensory sensitivities can appear in both males and females, but what makes it unique for females is that there's a heightened sensitivity to sensory input, um, but it might be more internalized in females. So an example of that might be um, a female or a girl may be extremely sensitive to clothing, and instead of saying anything about it, they just may choose another fabric instead of the one that irritates them, right? Um, and I see this a good bit with the clients that I work with. Um, Moving on to number four, social communication differences. Um, so again, this is also with males, but this is what's different with females. Challenges in understanding social nuances, but often more subtle than in males, right? Ever so subtle. Um, Males, again, I've also noticed, again, with my practices that those social sensory sensitivities are more pronounced. So Um, um, so an example of that is that she may take figurative language literally, but has learned to smile or nod to blend in. Okay. Or remain quiet, right? And maybe not be so vocal about it. Moving on to number 5 in the top 10. Um, Strong need for routine and predictability. Again, this is also in males, but um, reliance on routines to feel safe and comfortable. An example of that is that she might eat the same lunch every day and becomes anxious if it changes, right? But again, I when this characteristic I often see more pronounced in males and less in females, right? Thus harder to detect. Moving on to number 6, intense focus on friendships. A strong desire for social relationships, sometimes leading to challenges like intense friendships or feeling left out. An example of this might be she may have one best friend and feel devastated if that friend spends time with someone else. Now, keep in mind, you may all say to me, well, my teenage daughter does this. Well, okay, there's a difference though, right? There is a hypersensitivity to it, right? And you may say, well, my daughter does that. So again, it makes it harder to detect, right? So this is usually like a major meltdown tantrum can be, right? Or total devastation, right? That their friendship is lost just because she's hanging out with somebody else, right? So again, that's the reason why it's harder to detect, right? Um, Moving on to number 7, internalized anxiety or depression. So this is really, really an important one too, as well. So higher rates of anxiety and depression often get internalized. Thus, the reason why it's harder to detect. An example of this might be she might appear outwardly calm, but struggle with intense worry and negative self-talk. Okay. So it's very much masked, right? It's internalized. So again, this is a really, really important one that I often see with the clients I work with that have autism or have autism traits, or maybe have this autism trait. Um, Moving on to number 8, difficulty with changing transitions. Now, this could also be in males, of course, right? So transitions between activities or changes in routine can be particularly challenging. She might become upset or anxious when there's an unexpected schedule change at school, right? So what I've noticed with this is that it's more subtle with females, or it's more internalized, right? It may look like it's more normal. I hate that word normal, but it may look more normalized, right? Um, and then the emotion doesn't come out because it gets masked or it's more internalized. Okay, where males, it's more can often be more pronounced. Not all the time, but more often than not, it's more pronounced in males than it is in females. Um, Moving on to number 9, and this is a good one too. Stronger sense of justice or fairness, right? And I've seen this one a good bit with the clients that I work with. Um, a deep-rooted sense of fairness and justice, sometimes leading to strong reactions if they perceive something as unfair, right? Um, she might be the one who stands up for a classmate who's being treated unfairly, right? And I've seen this one. And again, this is the kind of behavior where they'll express it. It's like the person standing up on the soapbox in town square, right? Extremely vocal about it, right? And you will hear it. They will tell you, right? And they will preach about it. more often than not. So, and I've seen this with autism in females or autism traits in females defending a friend, or again, speaking out for something that's unfair or unjust, right? And being very vocal about it, right? Um, and this can be a characteristic that can also expand out to anything about in regards to them expressing their point of view, right? Not just injustice, but again, like is there's a lot of conviction, or if they know that they're right about something, they're going to speak up about it, right? Very, very strong and vocal about it, very assertive. And then moving on to number 10, last but not least, unique communication styles and creativity. Okay. So many autistic females express themselves creatively and might communicate in unique ways. An example of that might be a girl might prefer writing or drawing to express her feelings rather than speaking them directly, right? Now, you may all say, well, males do that also. Autistic males will do that also. They can be very artistic. That is also true. But it's more subtle with females, right? Um, again, the masking component and they may dive into their art and express it more in the art and not express it more vocally, right? Um, so as you can see, autism in females often looks different than in the traditional picture we've been taught, which is why so many girls and women go undiagnosed and misunderstood for years, right? Oftentimes, I see females come across in my practice when they're in their adulthood, right? Especially high functioning autism, Asperger's type, right? Oftentimes I see them in their teens, sometimes 20s and 30s, oftentimes when they come in. Um, but I've noticed also too that they become very adaptive to it, right? Um, and they've been able to do really, really well. And again, much more subtle. Um, so by recognizing these more subtle and internalized traits like masking, intense but socially acceptable interest, and high sensitivity, we can better support autistic females and affirm their experiences. If you like this video and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe and share it with somebody else that may benefit from it. If you like to provide feedback, there's links in the description below for my website, www.davidmartinlmft.com, and also some of my other social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram. I do welcome your feedback, and if you have an interest in another topic um, around neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, uh, please reach out and I can do what I can to get a video out for you all. Uh, and I hope you all benefited from this on some level or will know somebody that can benefit from it and share it with them. And I do appreciate it. And I will see you all on the next video.